Morning everyone, today we're going to look at pilgrimage in Christianity, looking specifically at the Holy Land. The Holy Land is an area of land covered by Israel and the Palestinian territories. Not only is this area important for Christians, but it also has religious and historical significance for Islam and Judaism. For Christians, the importance of the Holy Land lies in the fact that it was the earthly home of Jesus. As such, many Christians go on a pilgrimage to Israel or Palestine to visit places associated with the biography of Jesus. One of the most important parts of the Holy Lands is Bethlehem. According to the Gospels, this was the birthplace of Jesus. In Matthew's Gospel, it records the Old Testament prophecy which predicted that the Messiah would be born in Bethlehem. It says, "O you, O Bethlehem, are by no means least among the rulers, for from you shall come a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel." Furthermore, in Luke's Gospel, the shepherds say, "Let's go to Bethlehem and see this thing that's happened, which the Lord has told us about." As such, Bethlehem continues to be a popular pilgrimage site for Christians. People go here to worship and deepen their connection with God and with other Christians. Another important part of the Holy Land is a place called Nazareth. According to the Bible, Jesus was raised here for much of his life in a place known as Galilee. Christians often visit a specific church known as the Church of Annunciation, which stands at the traditional site of Jesus' childhood home. Christians worship here to deepen their understanding of the importance of Jesus as God incarnate. Finally, another part of the Holy Lands is Jerusalem. Jesus spent the last weeks of his life here. For example, the night before he died, he prayed in the Garden of Gethsemane. Christians therefore follow his example, visiting the site to pray and reflect on the crucifixion. After Jesus was sentenced to death in Jerusalem, he was made to carry his cross to the place of execution. After Jesus was sentenced to death in Jerusalem, he was made to carry his cross to the place of execution. The route that Jesus took is often referred to as the Via Dolorosa, or the Way of Sorrow. It's often also referred to as the Stations of the Cross. Christians during pilgrimage may follow this route, as it allows them to literally follow the footsteps of Jesus, remembering the suffering he experienced, but also expressing gratitude for the sacrifice. On Good Friday, some Christians even choose to carry a cross in order to share Christ's suffering. This also relates to a teaching in Matthew 16 verse 24, where Jesus talks about the fact that as Christians, we will also suffer at times. He said, "If anyone wishes to come after me, he must deny himself and take up his cross and follow me." During pilgrimage in Jerusalem, pilgrims will often visit the most holy church, known as the Church of Holy Sepulchre, which Christians may go to think about the death and resurrection of Christ.
Nestled in the heart of Jerusalem's old city, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. For the faithful, it is a place of pilgrimage and worship. For other visitors, it provides a remarkable look back at human history.
One of the D questions you could get in this exam is whether or not all Christians should attend pilgrimage to express their faith. Many Christians might agree and argue that pilgrimage is a good way for them to meet together and develop their sense of community and faith. In Hebrews 10 it says, "And let us consider how we must spur one another on towards love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together." As such, by going to places like St. David's or the Holy Land, they can remember their history and heritage, and they can worship together, which is a good way of reflecting their identity. In addition, some Christians might argue that pilgrimage is a form of worship, and that by meeting and worshipping together in groups, they're actually feeling a greater sense of God's presence. Jesus told his followers that when they do meet together and share their faith, he'll be there with them. In Matthew 18, he said, "For where 2 or 3 of you gather in my name, there I am with them." And so pilgrimage is a good way of them experiencing God together as a community. Many Christians in Wales might also agree that pilgrimage is not only a way of remembering their Christian faith, but also expressing their Welsh Christian heritage. For example, many Welsh Christians might visit St. David's or St. Non's Chapel. By visiting his birthplace and putting pebbles by his birthstone in St. Non's, they celebrate not only their Christian faith, but they connect themselves to their Welsh history. Many Christians might agree and argue that pilgrimage helps us develop our Christian values. Many feel it's beneficial to visit the Holy Land in Jerusalem to remember the life and suffering of Jesus. They often visit the Via Dolorosa, the Way of Sorrow, to remember Jesus' suffering. In Matthew 16:24, Jesus talked about the fact that Christians will also suffer. He said, "If anyone wishes to come after me, he must deny himself and take up his cross and follow me." As such, pilgrimage is a good way of developing Christian values in our life now. However, many Christians might disagree and argue that God is described as omnipresent or present everywhere, and therefore he can be worshipped anywhere. In Psalm 139 it says, "Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence?" As such, one could argue that there's little need to go on a specific pilgrimage to somewhere like the Holy Land or St. David's, but that we can worship God wherever and whenever we like. In addition, many evangelical Christians might argue that we have a duty to spread the word of God, which means going to the locations that aren't specifically Christian. In Matthew's Gospel, Jesus reminds his followers that they are the light of the world and that they should shine before others. He also told his followers to go make disciples of the nations. As such, for many evangelical Christians, like those from the Salvation Army, there's more benefit going to places where you might not be Christian, like prisons or homeless shelters. Finally, some Christians would argue that unlike religious traditions such as Islam, pilgrimage isn't compulsory and there are less specific places to visit. Christians are free to express their faith however they want to, providing they're not being selfish. In Galatians it says, "You, my brothers and sisters, were called to be free, but do not use your freedom to indulge the flesh." As such, Christians can choose to reflect their faith through worship, clothing, jobs, evangelism, not just pilgrimage. Hope you found that information helpful. As always, it's useful to test whether you've understood that information. So if you go on Quizlet or Kahoot, there are some test questions there, or you can have a go at some practice exam questions on the following slide. Good luck!